All right, we're doing 11.6.3 linear, quadratic, and exponential functions, and let's get right on into it. Question 1, identify the form of the equation and two characteristics of the function's graph. All right, so if you don't recognize this form right away, that's okay. We just need to begin that process of recognizing it. This is in, if I can, there it is, y equals mx plus b form. So that's slope intercept. All right, that's what that form is. So slope intercept form. And then what are the two characteristics? Well, the slope and the intercept. I know my slope is -7. And then I know my y-intercept is going to be 0, 2. Remember, y-intercepts always have an x value of 0. And then the b value of my slope-intercept form is just the y-coordinate then. All right, so what is this? This is y minus y1. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. This is point slope form, if you remember that from a few units ago. Now, what are the two characteristics? It's going to be a point and a slope. Well, the slope is still the number in front, so 2/3. And then my point, and if you remember from that unit, it's going to be opposite. I see a -5, I have a +5. I see a +2, I need a -2. It's always going to be opposite. All right. What is the average rate of change for this quadratic function for the integral? Oh my god, I don't know. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Oh, I don't know. This is kind of scary. Rate of change is slope. I know my slope formula is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Well, what order? I need ordered pairs. What ordered pairs? Well, I'm going to use the ordered pair where x equals 3 and x equals 5. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's plug into our formula. Y2 is 26 minus 10. 5 minus 3, 16 divided by 2, which is 8. So the average rate of change from the in the interval x equals 3 to x equals 5 is 8. That would be the rate of change, the average rate of change. Now, is that going to be consistent throughout this entire thing? No, because it's a quadratic function, but we can take just a section of this quadratic function and determine a slope for it, and that's exactly what we just did. So this next, what is the average rate of change? So what's the slope from x equals 2 to x equals 4? Well, 2 to 4, x1, y1, x2, y2. I plug into my slope formula. $120. Done. That's all we needed to do. What is the average rate of change? Well, now this is going to be the same thing, except for now instead of giving us a chart of ordered pairs, it's giving us a graph. So when x equals 0 is right here. So this is 0, 1. Then x equals 2, 1, 2. This is going to be 2, 5. So you have these two ordered pairs. You just do the slope formula that we just did the last two problems. All right, so sometimes they'll give us the chart with the actual numbers. Sometimes they'll give us the graph, and we have to determine what the numbers are. But they always tell us the interval, and we just do the slope formula. 6, slope formula from x equals 2 to x equals 4. This time it's a graph, but they still give us the ordered pairs. x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug them in. We're good to go. These are all the same questions. So what is the average rate of change from 14 to 15? Okay, so we don't actually know. We don't have 14 to 15. But what we have seen from 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10 is always going up. It's always going down by 2. So from 12, so if I just follow this pattern that they gave me, right? I haven't done anything. I'm just reading their pattern. So 12 to 13 would be -13. 13 to 14 would be -15. 14 to 15 then would be -17. So what's the average rate of change? negative 17. Right, so this is just a pattern I followed. So from 8 to 9, again, everything's being multiplied by 2. So 5 to 6 is 32. 6 to 7 is going to be 64 because I'm just multiplying by 2. It tells me what to do. 7 to 8, 128. And then 8 to 9, which is what I'm looking for, is going to be 256. All because I multiply by 2, which is what they told me to do. Right? They don't give us 8 and 9, but they give us all the information to get there. All right. So question 9. We know how to find x-intercepts. X-intercepts are simply either using your quadratic formula, factoring, completing the square, any of those methods to find where the graph crosses the x-axis, right? So where you get x equals, you're solving for x, and we have a plethora of ways to solve for x. So we can do all those methods. The y-intercept method is I just plug in 0 for x, and I get y equals 20. Right, so the y-intercept is usually easy because I just make all the x's 0. And then the vertex, like I could do completing, once I get my x-intercepts, I add them together and average them out, and that gives me my x value, I plug it in, yada yada. Or, right, because we have all these algebraic ways, if we have the opportunity, if we're allowed, we can also just graph it on Desmos. So my x-intercept's -5 and -2. My vertex is -3.5, -4.5. My y-intercept is 0.20, which we had to kind of calculate it. So we still have a graphing option. Question 10. If you remember, this is in the form y equals a times bx. This is exponential equations. I can't remember what unit was. Maybe 9, maybe 7, I'm not sure. But there's a video kind of going through the details and even has a pullout from the study guide that basically is a cheat sheet. So they want to know what the y-intercept is. Well, the y-intercept in these scenarios is always 0a. So my y-intercept is 0.3 right off the bat. Whether it's increasing or decreasing, well, this base will tell me if it's increasing or decreasing. I am decreasing when my b is between 0 and 1. I am increasing when my b is greater than 1. Well, my b value is 3/4, which is between 0 and 1, so that's decreasing. All right, now what could we do? We could still, if we wanted to double check ourselves, because we do have a chart that basically gives us these answers. And I forget which unit it was, but I had a video on it last week, I think. So unit 9, unit 7, something like that. And it gives us a cheat sheet with a chart in the study guide that we could use. Or, again, as I'm going to show you here in a second. There we go. What I could do is I could just graph it. It's going down from left to right, so it's decreasing, and then my y-intercept is 0.3. Easy peasy.